All right, so we will go ahead and get started, everybody. My name is Donovan Dolph. I'm with Cisco. I'm a collaboration specialist supporting our education customers in the Pacific Northwest. Definitely some familiar faces. I've been at ACPE for a few years now, but wanted to spend some time today in conjunction with our partner Converge One. I'll let Will introduce himself and then talk a little bit about our session here today.
Hey, I'm William Stevens. I'm an account manager here based in Portland with the Converge One. And one of the things that really struck me about this, kind of what we're presenting here, is I grew up first, second, third grade in a very rural elementary school. We didn't really get to go on field trips, or certainly not see anything cool. Of course, it was the 80s. We didn't have the technology, but the ability to be able to present these sort of things to students using technology was really kind of spoke to me. And so that's where we brought in Donovan and Cisco and the CILC to kind of present this. So I'm really glad you guys all chose to come here today, and hope you get some value out of it. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Will. So to kind of build upon that a little bit, really wanted to talk about the concept of virtual field trips today, right? Leveraging technology to give students experiences that they would not otherwise be able to get, or might be a challenge for them to get for financial reasons, transportation reasons, kind of many other things kind of fit in that description. We're here today with a partner of ours, CILC. How many of you have heard of CILC or leveraged their services previously? We got one up here. Okay, good. So this will be new for you guys. I have Jan Zanettis from the CILC team here. Jan is going to share a little bit about the services that CILC provides. And then we have Jackie from the California Academy of Sciences down in San Francisco to share a little bit around the actual experience of a virtual field trip and the experience that we can provide for those students. In this case, we're leveraging a Spark board to provide this connectivity. There's a number of things about this device that even further enhance the experience to provide the students with, I'll say, a lot more ability to interact with the session that they're seeing versus just watching somebody present. And we can definitely go into that in more detail over the course of the week in our booth and that type of thing. But I'm going to hand it over to Jan now to share a little bit about CILC, and then I'll play a quick video to kind of introduce things a little further there as well.
Okay, thanks, Donovan. Can you guys hear me okay? Raise your hand. Yay, I see hands up on the back row. So my name is Jan, and I am the managing director at the CILC. Been there for about 5 years. Before that, I was exactly like Donovan. I was a collaboration person at Cisco in Australia for a couple of years. Figure that one out. But anyway, Cisco's got this great new product that we're using today called Spark, or WebEx Meetings, and you're going to see a little bit about how that works. The first thing I want to do, though, is rather than tell you about CILC, I want you to sort of see it for yourself in a video. So, Donovan, you can go ahead and run that video.
You got it, Jan.
Just imagine you, your learners, your colleagues, and fellow adventurers swimming through vibrant marine life on the Great Barrier Reef, exploring the intricacies of the engineering and architecture of the Statue of Liberty, assisting and hanging on every word of specialists during an autopsy, or dancing the fiery Argentine tango. Don't imagine, do. Let's go take a look. All of this and so much more is possible through interactive video conferencing. Once, these amazing experiences took several technical staff members and were only possible through the purchase of cumbersome, expensive equipment. However, today, interactive learning is easily accessible through the devices you may already own in your classroom. Through internet connection, devices such as a laptop or tablet will bring a world of astonishing interactive experiences right to your fingertips. For the past 2 decades, CILC has assisted learners all over the world in their quest for discovery. From preschoolers to retirees, the interactive programs offered through the CILC database engages people in discussions, facilitates the acquisition of knowledge, and provides immersion in all subject areas. Use the Content Provider database to find the perfect interactive program that will engage your learners while meeting content goals.
The majority of my elementary students have never traveled outside of Southern Oregon, so visiting a place like New York City or
Oregon
Washington,
representation
D.C.
here.
It's just out of the question for a group of kids who live in the shadow of unemployed parents and inadequate housing. So whenever I find an opportunity to connect beyond the boundaries of this area, I jump on it. Over the years, CILC has been instrumental in expanding boundaries and igniting inspiration for my kids. We've traveled icy terrains on dog sleds in Alaska. We've met the first president's wife at Mount Vernon. We've explored the universe with NASA and looked into espionage at the International Spy Museum. In short, we brought the entire world into our classroom, and that wouldn't have been possible without the incredible resources and services of CILC.
Explore the professional development marketplace to schedule an acclaimed speaker for your staff's workshops, and browse the Collaboration Center to connect your learners to other learners across the globe for collaborative and innovative learning experiences.
Do y'all have rock wind over there in New York?
Do you have your own horses and stuff?
The Tectonic was made here in Belfast. This is the cockpit. This is where Amelia sat and directed the plane.
Accompanying its internationally acclaimed website are the dedicated staff of CILC. CILC support services range from technical assistance and planning to consultation on implementing an educational outreach initiative for all types of organizations. Whether you're an organization looking to bring content to your learners or one wishing to utilize collaborative technologies to deliver your message, CILC can guide you throughout the process. Now is the time to stop imagining and begin doing. The world is simply a click away. Let CILC make it easy for you.
So that's us in a nutshell. We have about almost 200 content providers and when I say content providers, I'm talking about museums, science centers, art galleries, artists, zoos, aquariums, you name it, all the way from the top of Alaska to the Middle East and to Australia. Most of them are in the U.S. though. And we've got lots of free content. So stay tuned to hear more about that. First, I want to get you hooked on what a content provider does. So I'm going to turn it over now to Miss Jackie, and she's coming to you from the California Academy of Science. Go ahead, Jackie.
All right, thank you so much. So I'm our distance learning education specialist here at the Academy, and so I wanted to give you a little taster of what it is like to actually be a virtual program student yourself. So usually we start off our programs talking about our museum, which you can see a lovely picture of, where our mission is to explore, explain, and sustain life on Earth. And one of the ways we do this is through our scientists. And in fact, I want to invite you all to become Academy scientists. So to become an Academy scientist, we all need to take a scientific pledge to remind ourselves what it's like to be a scientist. So what I'd like you all to do is raise your right hand and repeat after me. Today, I'm going to be a scientist.
Today, I'm going to be a scientist.
Which means I will look closely.
Which means I will look closely.
Think deeply.
Think deeply.
Ask questions.
Ask questions.
To try to understand the world around me.
To try to understand the world around me.
Congratulations, everybody. You're now Academy scientists. All right, so as Academy scientists, we are going to look very closely at one of the animals that lives here at the Academy. In fact, I happen to have them with me today. So this is my penguin friend, and I wanted to remind ourselves what kind of animal is a penguin. Can I have one of my scientist friends raise their hand high and tell me, what type of animal is a penguin?
Bird.
Yeah, it's a bird. In fact, I think the body parts are the same as other birds. And so let's go ahead and point out some of those body parts that are the same as other birds. Can some of my scientist friends Great job. And I heard one of our friends say wings. So everybody, let's go ahead and make our penguin wings, and we're going to flap our penguin wings. Great. And let's go ahead and have one more friend share out other body parts do you see that's the same as other birds?
Beak.
Go.
Ooh, we see a beak. That's right. Let's go ahead and make some beak with our hands, and we're going to open and close our beaks. Great. So yeah, our penguin friends have some body parts that are just the same as other birds. And in fact, today we're going to learn a little bit more about how our penguins use those body parts to help them survive in the water. Now, one of our friends said our penguin beaks. Now, can anybody remind me, how might our penguin beaks be useful to survive?
Catch fish.
Ooh, so catch fish to be able to eat. Well, have any of my friends ever touched a fish before?
I'm sure there's some fishermen here.
I see a lot of shaking heads. Can one of my friends tell me, what did it feel like?
Slippery.
Ooh, slippery, maybe a little bit slimy. Are they easy to hold on to with our hands? No, not really. Well, let's take a closer look at a penguin beak and see if we can find something that can hold on to a slimy, slippery fish a little bit easier. All right, scientist friends, what do you notice about the inside of our penguin's beak?
Spiky tongue.
Yeah, we see a spiky tongue. Do you think that's going to help our penguin hold on to a slimy, slippery fish?
No.
Definitely. And I noticed that those spikes are kind of all pointed towards the back of their mouth. So they're going to be able to push that fish towards the back of their mouth and then down into its tummy. I also noticed there were no teeth. So that means a penguin's going to eat the whole fish, including the eyes and the bones and the scales. Now, does that sound like a yummy meal to you? No, I don't think so either. Well, all right. So now we've looked at some of the body parts of our penguin friends. I want us to play a fun little game. You all need to participate in this game, where we are all going to act just like penguins. Now, to be able to act like these penguins, we need to first go ahead and say hello to our penguin. So we are going to look in our penguin exhibit, and I want you to pick one penguin you want to act like. Go ahead and point towards that penguin. All right, when I start our video, you all are going to act exactly like that penguin. If that penguin is waddling around, I want you to waddle around but stay in your spot. If it's standing there, just stand there. Maybe it'll start to move. And if it is swimming, go ahead and swim, but I want you to stay in your spot. All right. Everybody go ahead and stand up and act like your penguin.
You didn't know there was audience participation here, did you guys?
Good. Oh, they're kind of moving
Is there one mapping? That's what I want to do.
Oh, they are moving, huh?
Did they just eat, Jackie? They're slow today.
It's the afternoon. They're kind of sleepy-ish. So this is one of my one camera into our Academy exhibit, so I have no idea what they're actually going to be doing anytime. Kind of sleepy today. All right, everybody go ahead and sit back down. Thank you so much for participating on that one. All
All right, so that's just an example of our kindergarten through second grade program, what we call our Waddle Like Penguins program. And so in that program, you got to see that we asked our students to actually act like scientists, where we had them all take a...
Uh-oh. Oh. Jackie, we lost you for a sec. You are back, so
right.
Step back for a sec.
No problem. So you saw that we asked our students to become scientists themselves through that scientific pledge. I reminded them of the skills that they need throughout our presentation of referring back to, okay, let's look closely using those skills. Also, we during the program, we asked them to communicate their observations, what are they noticing, and we also identified those adaptations for those penguin body parts that help them survive. And during the 30-minute to 40-minute program, we would actually go into the other body parts as well, looking at the wings to swim, also the feathers to help keep them nice and warm, where we actually look at actual penguin feathers. And the great thing about this program is that, as you can see, we look live into our web camera and see penguins doing what they normally do in the wild, sometimes just standing there and cleaning their feathers. So that's an example of our younger grade program. And then I wanted to give you an example of our older grade program, what we call Calling All Planet Heroes. So let's go ahead and shift, and I'm asking you to be maybe in probably about a 5th grade level. And let's go ahead and start that one. All right. So welcome, everybody. I've now asked you to become Academy scientists, not only scientists, but problem solvers today. And one of the problems that we're going to focus on is how do our food choices affect the Earth's ecosystem? And so the way we're going to do this is we are going to explore by looking at our own food choices and how that affects our planet. And then also we're going to create an action plan. Figure out something we can do together to maybe lower our impact on our food choices. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to figure out how much land do we eat. That's right, I said how much land do we eat. So we all use resources, and our food also uses resources as well to grow that food. So let's take a look at a meal that we would want to eat. So all of you might have those pieces of paper. Go ahead and look at your food choices. And I want you to pick 3 food choices to make a meal you would like to eat. All right, and go ahead and talk to a partner sitting next to you about what choices did you make? What's your meal you would like to eat?
Beef.
No beef.
I'm guessing there was going to be a big tofu in there for that statement.
All right, everybody, let's go ahead and come back together as a group. So we've all picked a meal, and now to grow or raise that food that we need, that requires resources from our planet. And we're specifically looking at the land use that would do. So let's reveal how much land did you actually eat. Go ahead and flip over your worksheet and quickly calculate
Do you guys want a couple? I've got some back here.
All right, everybody, let's go ahead and come back together as a group. In 3, about the land use and the food that we eat?
Meat takes a lot of land.
Yeah, meat is definitely going to take a lot of land. What else do we notice?
That's not colored red on the back.
The fresher the ingredients, the less land it takes.
Okay, so you're talking about kind of the things that we grow, like spinach and rice, potatoes, those require less land. Now, when we're talking about how much area of land, we need to remember that an area is, what we're talking is 1 square unit. So if I am using a measuring tool like a ruler, we can see that 1 square unit would be 1 height plus 1 width plus 1 height and 1 width. So that's 1 square unit of land. And so, we talked about that animal products seem to have a lot of land use. Let's go ahead and dive in a little bit more about what goes into the land area of, maybe let's say, an egg. So, but let's go ahead and have a couple of ideas shared out. What do you think, where does that land come from when we're talking about the land used to grow an egg?
Chicken coop.
The land used to raise the grain to feed the chickens.
Yeah, so we're talking about the land used to grow the grain to feed our chickens. What else were we talking about?
The coop, where they live.
Yeah, where they actually live, to the chickens themselves, to lay those eggs. Yeah, so we're not just talking about the area of land where they grow, but also the food that they eat as well. And that's why we see that animal products tend to be a little bit higher, and 1 egg will be able to be about 5 square feet of space. So when we're talking about that land, there's a couple of types of land we're talking about. We're talking about maybe pastures, where there's places where our animals live. We're also talking about cropland, where we actually grow things that we eat as well as animals eat. So I want us to think about those 2 different types of land that we use and how that might impact wild animals and their habitat. Go ahead and turn and talk to a partner sitting next to you about this question.
So that's something that we've been aware of, especially with
You guys want to grab a chair? Yeah, please.
My knees are hurting.
You've got a better angle on these two.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when you hold your paper up in front of the marker, you're confusing the camera. You swivel your foot.
Oh, it's moving. I need to stay close to the board.
Well, your marker is what's important. So what you're wearing on your neck is what tells the camera how to go.
Oh, so I'm covered.
So when you cover it,
when I covered it, gotcha.
it's confused.
All right. So
They are easily confused.
all have kind of dove into this idea of the land that we use, and so from there we would actually go into how can we lower our impact of choosing maybe foods that might be a little less land impactful, like those plant-based products, or not only just saying absolutely no meat products, but maybe once a week we'll just not eat meat for a meal. And then I ask the students later on in the program to choose one of those actions that they want to try out for just a month, and a realistic action that they can do at home. And then we take a pledge together as a group to try and keep each other accountable for those actions for just that month. So that's an example of our Calling All Planet Heroes, where we actually create that action plan together. Throughout this program, as you can see, there's some visualizations. There's also videos and maps that talk about those changes that we're seeing here on our planet Earth. We also have other programs for our middle elementary. One is called our Rainforest Meals Program. And that takes a look at live videos of our animals here at the Academy eating. We are able to look at skull specimens and look at the different adaptations a couple of animals have to help them eat their next meal. And then we also have our Impacts in the Solar System program, which is high enriched data visualization from our planetarium. We actually also have a hands-on activity in that program as well, where we have 2D asteroids and comets, and we compare them to maps to be able to figure out scale of how big those objects are. And we also ask the students to try to figure out and collect data of all objects in our solar system are affected by impacts. So there's a lot of different variations of how programs are run, whether they have materials or we're looking at videos. But throughout all of our programs, we do ask students to become scientists and take on that scientist role. And these are all paid programs, what we call one-on-one interactions or point-to-point interactions. This is where our educator is in front of one classroom at a time. But there's another version of virtual field trips or distance learning, however you want to call it, what we call live streaming, or what here at the Academy we call special live events. And those are usually themed programs or our scientist chats, or even our biologist chats, where we get to introduce a topic or a scientist or an animal here at the Academy and broadcast it into many programs through.
Oh. We are on Hotel Network here. All right, Jackie, we lost you for a sec again. You were back.
Okay, great. So we actually just had one of our programs, our Earth Day program last week, which was a great success. We actually got to talk to about 1,000 students in one session, all across the country, even in Turkey, which was amazing. And all of them got to use a chat box to communicate with us, as well as with other classes. And there was a point where one class asked a question, and another class was actually able to answer that question because it was something that we had talked about just a little bit earlier. And so not only was I teaching the classes, but the classes were teaching each other. And that's the great thing about this platform and the type of learning that can happen is that not only are you bringing an expert or somebody who is a different educator than you are, but also you could have the opportunity of classes learning from each other within that time span as well. And so for us here at the Academy, we have very limited technical requirements. You can do it as easily from a laptop computer that's connected to the internet, a projector to make this image a lot larger, or a Cisco smart board like this one right here. Also just some speakers to make sure that it's nice and loud and clear. And then just a web camera and a microphone. And most laptop microphones and web cameras are actually pretty decent nowadays. So you don't have to get a whole extra one. And then here at the Academy, for those educators that are in the room, we also have many different lesson plans and e-resources on our website. So I want to thank you all very much for participating and becoming penguins yourself. I will pause this at this moment for any questions.
Any questions for Jackie, folks? Anybody been to the California Academy of Sciences in San Francisco? I definitely recommend it if you're in the Bay Area live. It's a fun place. Kids love it. More natural sciences than OMSI. There's a little bit.
Yeah, I've been to OMSI. I love OMSI. And yeah, we're more natural sciences and a natural history museum. We've actually been around since the 1800s. And so we have collections that are all the way back from then. Most of our
say if you've got a teacher that's trying to introduce a topic or do some research on something that is not available, is that something, a request that I can put together with you guys, and you're able to put together a class for them?
It really depends. If we have a researcher who is available and has background knowledge on that, usually we can go to them and ask them if they have some time. That's kind of a one-off special request, and it really depends on the researcher's time. To create a whole new program like the ones that we presented right now, that usually is not the case that we can do that.
So I'll chime in there, Jackie, and Jackie and the team at the California Academy of Sciences obviously have resources and programs built, but this can be very unstructured as well, right? So you've got a ton of expertise at your fingertips just within the community of the school, right? Parents can play a key role here, and I think a lot of parents want to, right? So being able to share some expertise, in my case, right? I've talked to my kids' class about my job and how I got into it and those types of things. There's a lot of expertise that can be drawn from the community, leveraging a lot of the same technologies we're talking about today. It's just a lot more accessible than it was before. I may not be able to get into the school, but if I'm traveling and it would help me to spend 10 minutes talking to the kids about a particular topic, I could do that very easily if I have my iPad, right? So those types of things are a lot more accessible now, and I'd encourage you folks in the room to kind of think outside the box a little bit to figure out where best can I draw from a talent perspective, and not necessarily limit it to needing somebody there physically in the classroom. Any other questions?
Also, Donovan, I'm getting ready to show them where they can find other great resources just like Jackie.
Absolutely. Any other questions? I think Jackie can hang out as well, so we can kind of do some additional Q&A at the end if there's questions. But anybody else? All right, very good. So, Jan, I will hand it back over to you and maybe dig a little more into the CILC webpage and kind of share a little more about the additional content that's available there.
So, Donovan, give me a time check. How much time have I got?
Half hour.
Half hour.
Okay, perfect. So, let me share my screen. And here we go. So, let's try doing this from a slideshow, although sometimes I get into trouble with that. So, we've already talked about who CILC is, and we've met with the California Academy of Science. What I want to do next is talk to you a little bit about how interactive video conferencing has been used for the last 20 years in K-12. I want to show you how we can connect your students to global resources and experts. And then I want to wind up with another application that's totally different from virtual field trips, which we tend to call collaborations. So, within the CILC website, which you can go to on your mobile device if you want, it's www.cilc.org. Within the website, we've got several different areas that you'll be interested in. The first one, of course, is our content programs, where you can search for programs like a program about penguins, for example. There's a collaboration center where you can look at various collaborations or have your teachers post their own ideas. We have a professional learning network for all of the CILC teachers. We have a video conferencing site directory where you can put in the name of a city and state and see who else in that city and state likes to do distance learning, as well as a site directory of all our members. We have about 150,000 members, about 60% educators, 30% administrators in IT. So we've been around for a long time, over 20 years. So this is what it looks like behind the scenes in a couple of our content providers. The one on the left is the Royal Terrell Museum of Paleontology. The one on the right is Darren at the Alaska Sea Life Center. We've also got 3 Alaskan state parks that you can connect with. So another view from the inside. This is a cooking class. I'm not going to run this video because of the bandwidth constraints, but I'll tell you real quickly about the program. One of our largest groups of active participants is up in Canada. Some of you might have heard of an outfit called Taking IT Global. They get lots of awards, and they're all over ISTE, etc. But anyway, they have a content dollar bank, actually 4 of them, on CILC, where they get money. I believe some of that money comes from Cisco, and they connect the students in the rural areas of Canada. We're talking the outback, villages where the kids never get to go anywhere, with our content providers, and they're booking like 45 programs a month. So let's get down into the nitty-gritty, and you can do this on your device if you got CILC.org up. But we have a very sophisticated search engine. So let's say you wanted something on manatees, and Jackie doesn't have any manatees. Or let's say you wanted something on dinosaurs, and you wanted it for 4th graders, and you would just type that right into the search engine. You can select some other ways of whittling it down, but let's see what we get with this one. So there's probably 20 programs from places like the Milwaukee Public Museum, the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, the Field Museum, the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, all about dinosaurs. So then you might take a look at the grade level. These are all appropriate for the grade level that I have. So there you go. That's how you find these programs. When you see one you like, you just click on the name of the program, and it takes you to this program flyer, which gives you a wealth of information, including how teachers have evaluated it in the past, which helps you make a good decision, or your teacher make a good decision. Maximum number of participants. Typically, the content providers, when they're doing a point-to-point, want 1 class, maybe 2 if you ask nicely. The disciplines, the program description, format, objectives. We have the Common Core National Standards. We're getting ready to do the NGSS. But this sheet gives you everything you need to know as an educator as to whether or not it's going to meet your goals. So from there, you would go up to request this program now, and it would put it in the hopper and go to lots of, I'm going to stop my video for a moment. So once you hit that submit the request goes in an email to the content provider, who can accept the date and time the teacher wants, or suggest another date and time, and then it comes back to the educator. At that point, it's between the educator and the content provider to do a test call and talk about any of the specifics that they need adjusted for their particular group of students. I saw that somewhere on Jackie's list underneath the technology that a test call is recommended, and I recommend it as well, because there's nothing worse than having a group of 45 kids in front of you and the technology not working all of a sudden. So be sure that you do a test call at some point a few days before the actual event, especially, if it's one that's costing you $150, and we haven't talked about cost yet. 30% of our programs are free, so ones that are free are typically funded by the federal government, the national parks, the Smithsonian, those types of organizations, the presidential homes. And then there's a few that do it for free anyway because they've got some grant funding, like, Longwood Gardens, which is one of our top providers and does all free programming. So anyway, once the program happens, then the teacher will get an email evaluation that they can fill out, and that helps us to know whether it's a great program or a good program or a fabulous program. So those ratings are on the website. Underneath every program name, you'll see, this has got a star and a thumbs up, which means teachers recommend it to other teachers. We also put all of our content providers through an evaluation in the summertime. And those that have the top scoring evaluations, and it's very stringent and very competitive, get what we call the Pinnacle Award. So when you're looking at these content providers, if you see a little flame next to their name, that means they won the Pinnacle Award, and that's a really big deal.
Hey,
so,
Jan.
Any questions so far? Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you real quick and talk about the kind of cost aspect of things. Okay. And maybe from the parents' perspective a little more. So I've got 3 kids in elementary school now at this point. I think the teachers' mechanisms for funding some of these things have definitely changed over time. I've talked a lot recently about, leveraging community events to raise the funds for these virtual field trips, right? So, the 2 schools we participate in have a very successful auction program, right? And being able to auction virtual field trips for specific classes is a great way to kind of generate money from the community to fund some of these events. The other one, I've gotten, I think, 3 requests this school year for GoFundMe programs that the teachers individually have initiated, right? So one of them was for paper, right? But, definitely leverage the community again for resources for some of these things. I think it's an opportunity to kind of spread the load a little bit, but it's also, an additional source of revenue potentially. And then grants is another one, right? We've got my local school just got a grant from CenturyLink for technology in the classroom. This is definitely another area where, the teachers themselves can apply for some grant funding to fund some of these ones that come at a fee, right? So think about all of those things as you're looking at the kind of library of choices that are there. Go ahead, Jan.
Also, Donovan, a lot of our schools use Title I monies for these programs, which is perfectly acceptable as long as you tie it to the curriculum. And some of our high schools and middle schools are using the Perkins grant money for these programs. So keep those resources in mind, too, if you're interested in doing this.
And then also as a provider, some of us do provide Title I discounts as well. So if your school happens to be a Title I school, you can either a reduced price or some providers do give them for free that way. So always good to ask.
Good. So, Jan, I think you were going to open it up to questions there. Any questions on kind of the CILC platform? I would encourage you all just to kind of browse the website. The search capability is pretty powerful. I mean, I've done a lot of these searches where it's just 3rd grade science, right? And that kind of opens it up, and you can see that Common Core matching. So whatever kind of unit they're working on at the time, you can find something to align with that. Jeff.
Do these events need to be one-to-one, one classroom to one course, or can, 2 classrooms in one school have interactive capability with one course?
Good question.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. I would recommend that you contact the content provider you're interested in using and ask them if you can bring the 2 classes in. So a lot of our content providers are using various web-based platforms, so they can have, with Cisco, you can have up to 50 locations at one time in one call, with one of those sites being the content provider.
Thank you.
And you also heard Jackie mention live streaming, and that's also something that we do. So we just had an event that had 3 streams of content throughout the day, and it was totally free to the schools. We had over 2,000 students participate through the day. So those are, we do these special live streaming events as well. For our premium members, we do 2 a month with various content providers. And even though it's not quite as interactive, the kids love it. Just the ability to get their voices recorded on the chat, that's as good as them coming up to the microphone from what I've seen. So we're getting more and more into the multi-point live streaming types of events. But yeah, there's nothing better than the point-to-point with one content provider in one classroom. Other questions? Is this either you or IT people? Give me some technology questions, and Donovan can answer.
We're trying to solve that problem of needing to do a test call, Jan. That's definitely something that hopefully has improved a lot recently.
Yeah. No questions?
No bandwidth questions? Nothing? Hotel bandwidth here? You know?
Well, I'll mention something. A lot of our content providers still use full-scale video conferencing equipment, like H323 system. And the reason they do that is because they have a little bit more agility with the camera, being able to zoom in and zoom out, and all that type of thing that you may not necessarily get with a web-based solution. So I believe Cisco's got some nice solutions that would work. If you know any good museum science centers that might like to do this, let me know about them. I'd be glad to get them started. So I've still got a little bit left, Donovan, if you want me to go into collaborations.
Yeah, go ahead, Jan. Please continue, and then I'll close it out with kind of another scenario that was a little close to home for me that I think relevant to the conversation here. I'll share with the folks.
Okay. So let me see if I can get my slides back up. Can you see that okay?
Yep.
All right. So collaborations to me is when you connect a group of students with another group of students to interact over video around a topic of mutual interest. Why is it so important? It is just flat out exciting to your students to be able to interact with students somewhere else in the world. Students that may be a different culture, have a different accent, eat different foods. There is a very lot of power in that type of connection. So there's all kinds of collaborations and a big push for global education going on right now. And you don't have to have your schools join in some elaborate global event. The best way to get started is with sort of ad hoc projects. And this is a picture, it's probably 15 years old, but it still gets the point across. You've got a group of students in Miami interacting with a group of students in New York. Can you tell at all what those kids have in their hands? Yeah, snakes. So they're probably sharing a lesson about reptiles. There's no telling what those kids in New York have in their hands. Okay, that was an example of a ad hoc one-to-one kind of collaboration. Here's an example of a big deal one. So last year we ran a program with an organization called Ripples Make Waves, which is a nonprofit that's trying to save the world's water supply, basically. So we had 24 hours of presentations from both students and from experts. We had 20 countries represented and 400 sites. So that was a lot of students over that 24-hour period, and that's an example of more of a big project. But if you're interested in showing this to your teachers, then you probably need to check out our Collaboration Center because it lists all the collaborations going on right now. And from there, you can search it. You can find something that you're interested in. This is a list of just the projects going on outside of the U.S. And then when you're interested in one of these projects, you just click on it, and there will be a contact email that the teacher can send off to, and the next thing you know, they're in dialogue with a teacher somewhere else in the world that they're studying the same thing and they want to do a collaboration. So check out the Collaboration Center. You can look at other people's posts and get fresh ideas for your own ideas. And then I'm just ending this with a list of some of the other collaboration resources if you're interested in global education. Places like ePals, CapSpace, Global SchoolNet, Global Nomads, and Taking IT Global. So I wanted to end with sort of a secret announcement that we're not really going to announce till the end of June when we go to ISTE. And that is we're integrating the Cisco meeting suite into our personal learning network, part of our website, which means teachers that are members of the PLN will be able to collaborate in real time through chat by putting files up, escalating to video, very powerful capabilities. We're also launching a professional learning communities area so that all the kindergarten teachers are going to be in one group, and all the higher ed researchers will be in another group. Within those communities, we're going to be launching a badging system for teachers, administrators, and higher ed. Those people that win a badge, which, the basic ones are pretty easy to get. They get a full professional license for Cisco WebEx and Cisco Meeting Suite. So that is coming down the pike. We're very excited about it. And now I will take questions if you've got any.
And I saw a couple of you taking pictures here. If you guys want these slides, come see us tonight, tomorrow, at some point. Find myself, Will, or Brian, and we'll get you the copy of these slides and the information that Jan shared as well.
Suppose I could find this out just by looking on the website, but what about foreign language interactions and setting up with people? Obviously, learning from
good.
other classes in other parts of the world that also speak English. What about foreign language? Is that also part of it?
Yeah, so we often see on the collaborations people wanting to practice their Spanish or French, and they want to talk to a class that speaks those languages that wants to practice their English. So it's a great give and take, a great idea, and all you have to do is post that idea on the Collaboration Center.
And then there are other providers that do have other language speakers. Like us here at the Academy of Sciences, we have bilingual educators for Spanish, Cantonese, and Mandarin. So we do have the ability to provide those programs in other languages as well.
Good question. All right, and I'm going to share one more thing and maybe reiterate. You were speaking pretty quietly over there.
Sorry.
No. So I appreciate that. She was able to pick up on that, interact, no problem at all, right? Yeah. So it's another piece that I want to highlight. So this is an example of a engineering class, a STEAM class in middle school, and leveraging a Spark board like this. They were doing a unit on robotics and had just finished a unit on coding. I was able to have Robert up here, who works on autonomous trucking for Daimler, talk to these kids about robotics and software and how these trucks are talking to each other. He also talked a little bit about his kind of growing up with technology and how he got into computers. And this was an hour-long class. As you guys are probably all familiar with, there's kids that raise their hand at every opportunity, right? This guy over here pretty much raised his hand constantly. Robert introduced kind of his initial interaction with Arduino and said, hey, anybody in the audience ever use Arduino? Of course, this guy raised his hand, yeah. This kid over here in the back, who was kind of head down most of the time, very quiet, just kind of nodded his head and said, yep. Not loud, much like you, very quietly. The microphone technology here was able to pick that up, and Robert heard that and started a 5-minute conversation on what are you doing, what are you working on with Arduino. That's a kid who probably didn't intend to speak up, honestly, but it started an interaction. And I led off by saying, we want to leverage technology to make these virtual field trips much more interactive. So, Jackie did a great job on engaging you guys, getting you to stand up. But it's getting kind of your interactions, your voice heard on the far side is what's going to make these a lot more impactful, right? There's enough content on YouTube that a teacher can press play, right? That's not necessarily going to have the impact of, the kid in the back of the classroom being able to tell Jackie about their trip to, Argentina to see penguins or something, right? So there is an element of technology to this, and and the audio plays a key role. So I just wanted to finish there. Thank you for teeing me up perfectly with that.
So
Yes.
I was wondering if there's closed captioning and accessibility features built in.
Very good question. So closed captioning, yes, absolutely. Today, that is provided by a human. So a human could be on the session captioning that, and that text is visible live stream. We are in the early phases of some pilot work on automating that and having some software technology be able to provide that real-time captioning. So that's only going to improve, I think, very significantly over time.
Donovan.
Go ahead, Jan.
Hey, Donovan. If they come through CILC, they get the closed captioning through DPRAP, and we're already doing it.
Okay.
There we go.
There you go.
Thank you, Jan, for speaking up. Good question, though. So we are 2 minutes left for any other questions. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. I think it's definitely a great opportunity to us provide more experiences for the kids. We've got a lot of rural areas in Washington and Oregon. Field trips are getting cut, as you all know, right? And those that aren't are expensive. So, the more we can broaden our ability to deliver some of these experiences to our students, I think the better. So hopefully you saw some of that today.
Absolutely.
Brian.
Question about bandwidth. So, what is the requirements or recommendations?
Yeah, so we're probably looking at about 1.5 meg on this call here when we're talking about 720p video and the content. So, yeah, it is, and I think it opens up the ability, as we talked about, for kind of class-to-class interaction as well, right? So when we're connecting to a content provider, that's one thing, but it's a lot easier to connect that, rural classroom with a classroom in Portland or, a classroom here locally. So.
And if there are any questions on kind of this technology and how to enable it, Converge One, we were named, shameless plug, we named one of the collaboration partners of the year by Cisco, so it's an area we specialize in.
And we're around the rest of the week, so you will see us. Definitely come by and say hello. We can share more on this and other things.
That's right.
It may be sitting out on this patio for a few minutes when we finish. If you have a pickup. All right, thank you all for the time. We appreciate the engagement and involvement. Enjoy the rest of the week. Jan, Jackie, thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good turn your deal on.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.